Hi, welcome back to my channel. It is a new video, a new Saturday, a new weekend, and today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be a round two of doing highest rated book on my TBR versus the lowest rated book on my TBR. I've done this once before, and I did end up DNFing the lowest rated book on my TBR, so that is kind of not making me very excited for this video, but also the book that we're going to be reading for the lowest rated, I have a little bit higher hopes for it than I did the first time that I did this video, and that is The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. Checking on Goodreads, this has 3.5 stars and it has 75,717 ratings and 7,885 reviews. So 3.5 from 75,000 people is not much. Obviously, I am a little bit concerned that this is so lowly rated, being a Christina Lauren book. I don't really know much about what this book is. I think it's about two assistants from what I know. Haven't really heard anybody that I watched on YouTube or TikTok or anywhere talk about this book. I wonder why it's at a 3.5 stars. That makes me a little bit anxious. I don't think it's gonna be that bad. So let's see if that's true or not. So I have been reading and I have some updates. I have started with our lowest rated book, which is The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren, which follows James and Carrie, who are respective personal assistants to two separate people who are married, who work on like this interior design company and show where they basically create and design rooms and furniture and stuff like that. Carrie is the assistant to the woman in the marriage, in the couple, and James is the assistant to the man, and they're both very, very unhappy in their jobs. Carrie started working with them when she was very, very young, and she was a cashier at their store, and now she is basically the creative brain behind everything that the couple creates, and it's not a known fact, it's very, very covered that the woman gets all of her ideas from Carrie, and then the husband is basically hiring this guy as an assistant because he is a hot mess. He does not want to be married anymore, he doesn't want to do this anymore, and James is very unhappy in his position because he was a engineer, or like he worked for this company that ended up coming out for fraud and being outed to the entire world as a fraudulent company, and so now he can't find a job anywhere else, and he is very smart and very intelligent, and he has to be stuck with this job that he doesn't want to do. And so both of them find themselves working for these two people. It kind of starts off enemies to lovers, but not really, but neither of them kind of like the other. They're kind of rivals. I think that's a better way to describe it. He thinks that she's kind of closed off and he doesn't really spend much time with her, and he thinks that he's smarter than everyone because of his degree, and she doesn't have a degree. And one day they decide to go on this book signing tour, and they have to go along with the couple because the man was caught cheating by James and everything is falling apart, and they cannot be caught cheating right now because they have a book about marriage coming out soon, and soon being like a couple of weeks. And so they have to make this book tour go very, very well because also their show is on the line. Their show is about to be aired as well. So now James and Carrie have to go on this book tour with the couple, even though this is supposed to be their vacation time, and they have to basically babysit these two adults who are unable to get along and unable to be together even though they're married, and they put on this beautiful polished image to the rest of the world. They're actually a hot mess on the inside. And that's all I've gotten so far from this book. I am not finished with it yet, but I will say I don't understand the low rating on it. Yes, it's a little bit quick and the romance is a little bit insta lovey. I don't understand the low rating because it's not written badly in any way at all. It just feels like very immature Christina Lauren writing, like beginner Christina Lauren writing. Their older works tend to be not as great as their newer works. I already knew that going into this one, so I think that's why I'm not so offended by what this book is trying to do. I don't really hate it, honestly. It's very entertaining, very quick to read. It's only like 300 and something pages, and it's just very quick, very easy to get through. It's not the best, it's not the worst. I'm kind of enjoying it. It's teetering on like an okay rating. I don't hate it. I don't think it's an abomination. I don't understand the lower rating. I do think it deserves maybe a little bit, like a bump up a point or two, but it's not bad. It's not the worst thing I've ever read. It's not offending me. Like, I think the first time that I did this type of video where I read the lowest versus the highest rated book, the lower rated book I didn't end up finishing. I ended up DNFing it. So this one is just, it's fun. It's easy. And if you really want an easy experience, I think listening to the audiobook of this would be really entertaining. Been like an hour since I last talked to you. As you saw, I have officially finished with the Honey Don't List. I am giving this one a good old 3 stars because honestly, while it was not the most, like I said, life-changing story with like the most life-changing main character and love interest, it was still really, really fun. It read very, very quickly. I really liked that it was leaning into how crazy being famous is and how crazy it is to basically worship like celebrity figures, I guess. It was really entertaining. I feel like having not DNF'd it, it's not the worst book I've ever read. And now we are going to move into our most highly rated book on my TBR, which I still don't know what it is. So let's go to the me who does know. Hey girl, hey. So we are moving on to the most highest rated book on my TBR, and that is going to be The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. This book is my highest rated book on my shelf with 39,426 ratings at 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars is a very, very big deal on Goodreads. I feel like if I was an author and I got a 4.5 stars rating average, I would be so happy. I really, really adore this author. She wrote a book called The Stationery Shop, which I absolutely adored and cried my eyes over. I really, really loved that book, and I recommend it to anybody and everybody who would listen. That book is like one of the few memories I have of a book being like so hard-hitting from beginning to end. It was something so near and dear to my heart. I adored it. I loved it so much. It was everything that I wanted in a novel and more. The romance was beautiful. The just plot was beautiful and breathtaking and gorgeous, and so I feel like this is going to be absolutely very much of the same. And I feel like because it has very high ratings, I have very high hopes, and also because I also know this author. I've read her work before, so I absolutely know that I adore her writing, and I love the way that she crafts the story, and I know that she's going to tug on my heartstrings and potentially make me cry. So I'm very excited for this book. So excited. I have no idea what this book is about, which is kind of like how I went into The Stationery Shop. I also didn't know anything about that book. This book is 321 pages. I'm going to take my time with it because I don't want to push myself too fast, because I really want to appreciate this writing. And this book only came out last year in June, so very excited to finally have another writing from this author that I absolutely adore and that I get to read for the first time. Lion Women of Tehran, and I am now on page 132 on chapter 19. And this story, we follow this girl. Her name is Ellie, and she is living with her mother in Iran, and her father passes away one day, and she gets taken in, and then her and her mother have to move from their big mansion to this small house in this small town, and her mother is kind of related to Iranian royalty, and so her mother doesn't allow her to play with the kids, and she feels very isolated. And one day she makes a friend, and we follow their story as they go through school and work through college and what it's like under the oppression in Iran in the 1950s. And it's a historical fiction novel. It's really, really entertaining. I knew this was going to be a historical fiction novel. I was expecting that because I did, like I said, read The Stationery Shop by the same author, which was also a historical fiction novel, which I adored so incredibly much. I adore the writing that this author puts into her work. She is so incredibly talented at crafting scenes and crafting characters that you just feel so attached to from the very beginning. This story follows like the oppression against women and Iran, and how it basically was kind of getting radicalized but not really, and also how sometimes in countries like that women can be oppressed because of men in power. And we just follow their story, and as one of them is searching for marriage and one of them is searching for jobs, and what it's like to be a woman in a place like Iran in the 1950s and the 1940s. And it's a dual timeline. We also see Ellie once she's a little bit older and she's out of Iran. And yeah, it's a really entertaining story, really beautifully written, really just heart-wrenchingly beautiful. And I really adore the way that Marjan writes a story, because I just really adore the way that she puts sentences together. It's really beautiful, and I'm really enjoying it, and I definitely recommend it. And I'm probably going to finish it tomorrow, I think, because I am almost halfway through, and I do see myself reading a little bit more tonight. So hopefully I'll be finished with it tomorrow, and I'll tell you my ratings and my thoughts and all of that good stuff. So yeah, this is just an update. Welcome back. I have finished with The Lion Women of Tehran, which is by Marjan Kamali, and I'm giving this one, drumroll please. Yep, I'm giving this one a 5 stars. I really, really adored this book. This is a story about friendship and love and affection and rebellion and revolution. And if you are a person from the Middle Eastern area then I think you would enjoy this. If you are a person who values friendship, then I think you would enjoy this. This follows like 3 different generations and how their life is affected by an uprising and a revolution, and just how different it is to be growing up in an area where women are not really seen as people and more as objects. I obviously am not a political person. I don't speak a lot about politics on my channel. I do think that it has a place and it has a time, and it's definitely something that we should be very much invested in because it is the well-being of the people. It's very clear from the way that I am, where I come from, and what I support Free Palestine. And obviously I stand with our Iranian women who are continuously fighting for the cause of just women's freedom and women's rights. It is very, very eye-opening to read a story about people who are unable to basically live like a regular woman does in the Western world, and it was very, very just near and dear to my heart, and I absolutely adored it, really loved it. 5 stars. I definitely understand why it has all of the praise and all of the high star ratings that it does on Goodreads, because I think this is a very important story. If you like historical fiction, I think you would like this. If you like a story that follows different generations, then I think you would like this. Really adored it, really loved it, and honestly recommend it. 5 stars. So I think it checks out with the Goodreads ratings. So these are the books that I read this week. Very, very different on very different spectrums, very different genres, very different stories. I really liked both of them. I think this one was not bad, honestly. Like I said, I don't think this one is a bad book. I don't think it deserves to be lowest rated or whatever. I think this was just one of their oldest works and not a lot of people know about it. Sure, it's like a surface level story that doesn't have a lot of depth, but I still enjoyed it and it was really fun. And if you like a good rom-com, then I think you would enjoy this, and my thoughts about this are obviously clear. I loved it, adored it, genuinely one of the best books that I've read so far this month and probably this year. I always adore this author's writings, and I definitely recommend you read The Stationery Shop. If this story doesn't really strike your fancy and you want more of a romance, a historical fiction romance, then The Stationery Shop by the same author is so beautiful and one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you've read either of these books, or if you've read either of these authors, if you've read The Stationery Shop, or if you've read this one, or Together Tea. Let me know down below. Let me know down below if you want another part of this video, because this is part 2. Obviously, like I've said, I've done this video before and I really like it because it really just shows like the difference between the ratings on Goodreads. Like some of them make sense, some of them don't. Obviously in this case, I really liked both of the stories, and that doesn't usually happen because like I said, in part 1 of this video, I didn't end up finishing the first book, the lowest rated book. So this was a really interesting story. This was a really interesting video, really interesting reads, really adored it, really had the best time with it. And with that being said, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below if you did. Let me know down below if you would like me to do another version of this video, or if you have any other video recommendations that you would like to see. I hope you have the very best day. Treat yourself to something nice, and I'll see you guys again next week with another video. Goodbye!